Hey, welcome to the shop. Well, after building new age power onto this classic old foundation, our 454's going home today in this 85 Chevy we call the Monte Carlo. Flashback a year or so when the Monte Carlo was our project car of the moment. In the shop, we gave it a 9-inch rear end, along with serious upgrades to the suspension, some new brakes, and a high-flow exhaust system. Chevy never made a 5-speed for this car, so we went nuts and made our own with a conversion job. Then, with a 502 GM crate engine under the hood, it made tons more power than stock. Well, how about 420 horsepower and 515 foot-pounds of torque at the rear wheels? We got marching orders to give up that 502 for some other power block projects, and that's where this 454 comes in.
It was the focus of 2 engine builds, one on a complete budget of $2,500, another using off-the-shelf high-performance parts in a hunt for all-out horsepower. In the end, it made 623, 16 more than a Ford 460 we built much the same way. We want to keep a hand free for coffee and the GPS while cruising and still be able to consistently kick butt at the track. So to transfer the power from that big block Chevy to the rear wheels, we're going to use this in between. It's a Gearstar 204R automatic transmission that's specifically designed for high performance engines like ours. We'll tell you more about it when we get it in the car.
Before anything else, we've got a valvetrain conversion to make. We used a solid roller cam in our latest build-up to keep everything the same as the Ford 460. Hey, but for the street, this Lenati hydraulic roller will give us smoother idle and plenty of power in the lower RPM band. Well, not to mention freedom from all those valve adjustments.
Every once in a while, we get asked the question, do you have to remove the cylinder head to change the valve spring? Well, the answer is no. All you need is a way to compress the cylinder with air to hold the valve up and a valve spring compressor. The air hose we're using has spark plug threads and an O-ring on one end. The constant air pressure keeps the valves closed while we use this Moroso compressor to remove the stiffer springs used with the solid roller cam. In their place, we're installing these softer springs that originally came with the RHS heads that were set up for the hydraulic roller. Next, we can install the new comp hydraulic roller lifters, which have a taller body, so we had to order another set of custom push rods. And if you're in a hurry like we were, Lunati will ship them to you overnight. Now we'll reinstall the rocker arms, and since we're using a hydraulic roller cam now, we'll just adjust the valves a half a turn past zero lash, and they're set.
There's sort of an ongoing debate about hydraulic versus solid roller cams. Some of the solid roller guys say you give up a whole lot of power just to get the smooth idle and low maintenance of the hydraulic. So, just because we're curious, and because we can, we're going to put the 454 back on the Dyno.
Good oil pressure. Air fuels look good at idle. Let's make a run.
Okay. Don't forget, everything but the cam lifters and springs are the same as the last run. 623 horsepower at 6,300 RPM.
A little hesitation around $5 grand.
Well, it still made 557. Hey, we're sure there's more in it though, so we're gonna up the timing a couple of degrees to 35 before run number 2. Well, it's making a lot more torque than with the solid roller.
Yeah.
The air-fuel graph is telling us we're running a little too rich to get the best peak horsepower. So Mike's swapping out 2 carb jets in front, going down from 84s to 81, along with a smaller squirter in the back of the carb. Surely this will make a difference.
Here we go. You ready, Haunch?
You betcha.
Man, besides that little bit, with where the air fuels are, I like where it's at. And with that torque and power number,
that may be the sweet spot.
Yeah. Yeah. And for a street car, man, this thing is in a rock.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Here's a situation where the Dyno can give you more information than just peak horsepower and torque. The darker lines screen for torque, White for horsepower represent the solid roller set we used. Now the brighter lines represent the hydraulic setup we just ran, and from the beginning at 2,500 RPM all the way up to 5,500, we got more torque and horsepower. Now here is where you want to be at the starting line of the drag strip, and this area represents where you want the most power on the street, well, unless you're trying to set a land speed record to the grocery store. Now, what's going to happen when we drop that 454 beast in the Monte Carlo? We're not far from finding out.
Hey, in case you just joined us, where have you been? We turned out 584 horsepower and 607 foot-pounds of torque. Now our Chevy Big Block's ready for street and strip duty. Inside our Monte Carlo, that is. Now, of course, it's already been modified for a big-inch motor with the right motor mounts, fuel line, fans, and radiator. So it ought to fit together like a nerd on a computer, right? Well, not quite. See, our 454 valve covers are a little taller than the ones that were on the 502. So we have a little clearance issue with the AC box. Now, no way are we getting rid of the AC, so it's time for a little bit of surgery. First step is to cut out a square section of the fiberglass AC box. And you gotta be careful not to go too deep, or you could damage the cooling fins inside. Now, before anything else, we need to test fit the engine to see if it clears. Are you good?
Yep.
Next, this strip of tin goes in to make a bracket for the bend. Then after scuffing around the hole for adhesion, I'm gonna brush on a mix of resin and hardener onto this sheet of fiberglass material. While it's still wet, I'm covering the hole with the fiberglass. Now you gotta keep working with it while it starts to set up. Then brush on some more of the mixture. You've got about an hour to kill while it hardens. I know you've seen me take plenty of risk, but when working with fiberglass, it's just not worth it. The dust can get in your lungs and kill you. Now, if you want to see what kind of difference we made down here, check this out. Finally, sand it down smooth, apply paint, and we're all clear.
Next, we're using our 502 for a parts transplant. You see everything up front is getting transferred to the 454. By the way, an accessory drive like this can rob 30 to 35 horsepower from the engine.
All right.
You sure that nerd fit on the computer like this?
Yep. All right, back started. Now we can raise our Gear Star trans into place. Now it's a 204R with 4 forward gears. It's got billet components and a heavy-duty cast case. It should be a solid bridge between our 454 and the car's 9-inch rear.
All right, she's in.
Then, after bolting the trans up, we can connect the torque converter to the flex plate, then install our kickdown.
Now we can replace this cross member, but you'll notice we modified it since the automatic is about 2 inches longer than the manual.
While we're under here, we can also connect the bracket and cable for our automatic shifter. We got lucky with the drive shaft. We already had this nearly new piece in a Camaro project that fits perfectly.
Not so lucky with the exhaust. Somebody also repurposed the one we installed in here, so time for some fast fabrication to make a new one. Now into the engine chores, you know, sensors, hoses, wiring, the usual stuff. One of the most time-consuming jobs turns out to be making room for the new B&M Magnum Grip Pro Shifter for the automatic. This involved welding up 2x3 pieces of sheet metal for a mounting location, complete with an impromptu carpet fire.
I need water or something. Nope, I don't. Woo-wee!
Well, Fire Marshal Mike did remind us that flames can be useful, like checking your electric fans before you start the engine. Finally, we get to back this beast up onto the rollers. Considering the usual parasitic power factors, we're still betting on at least 400 horsepower here on the Dyno jet. After several ear-shattering runs, we got our answer. Well, that's right what we predicted. 422 horsepower, 421 foot-pounds of torque, and all the runs are pretty consistent too, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And I know this thing was strapped down really tight. For the way it moved, it felt like it wanted to come off the dyno.
Okay, if you're not blown away just yet, consider this. The factory 305 that came in this Monte Carlo SS only was rated at 180 horsepower, only made 135 at the rear wheels. Now, there's no way this maniac's going to take the car out on the street yet until we find a way to plant all that power. We'll do that down the road. Hey, stay tuned. We're going to follow an outlaw racer in search of winning power at the Strip. Stay with us.
Welcome back to Horsepower. Now, when you come to one of these races as a spectator, what you get to see are these cars making 4 to 5 second passes, barreling towards that 660 mark, hopefully for a win. Now, what you don't see between rounds and races is the hard work, time, and dedication it takes from the whole crew to get the job done. The easiest way to explain it, blood, sweat, and gears.
This is where it all happens for now.
Ken Rainwater is one of the top contenders of Outlaw 10.5. His racing roots go back to his teen years when he was one of the youngest drivers ever to compete in an IHRA alcohol funny car. In 2005, he joined the ranks of Orska and now drives an 03 Mustang powered by a 598 cubic inch big block Ford with 91 millimeter twin turbos. It's the car that took Ken to the finals in several Outlaw 10.5 contests and to the winner's circle in the 2007 Beat the Heat event.
3-speed Lenco transmission. All of the electronics and fuel system control is by my crew chief, Alan Dudley, which is high performance controls.
Racing is the fun part, but it takes lots of behind-the-scenes homework to make it all happen.
Going over the engine, transmission, converter, doing different stuff. I mean, from cleaning the rig to loading and unloading, it's probably a 20-hour-a-week job if you don't tear anything up. We broke our axle bearing in the last test session, so we've got that fixed. We just need to put gear oil in it, tires and wheels on it, and load up and head to Montgomery. I have lots of really good help. They're just friends. They donate all their time and effort. Most importantly is the wife and kids. They're fully involved 24/7, because it's racing at the racetrack is one thing. Way more happens here than happens there. Like I said, just a couple inches under 100 feet long. It's kind of our home on wheels. When we leave out, you know, we're gone Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and sometimes Monday before we get home. And we're pretty self-efficient. We leave with everything we need and stay on the road 3 or 4 days, and it really makes traveling nice. There's a lot more to it than just racing cars. Sometimes being with your family and your friends and cooking out, we enjoy the whole thing. You just can't go to Outback. Let's get this thing unloaded and go do some testing.
Right now, for Ken and his crew, it's a race against time. A nasty thunderstorm is headed this way, and chances for a critical test and tune run are iffy at best. And they're a few seconds late, reaching the line just as the bottom drops out. So it looks like the first shakedown pass won't happen until tomorrow's first round of qualifying. In racing, you've got to expect the unexpected. But this is nothing compared to the unexpected turn of events on Saturday.
Horsepower is back, tagging along with outlaw racer Ken Rainwater. After a washed-out attempt at a Friday test run, it's almost time for Ken's first qualifying pass. Like many racers, he shares a passion for drag racing with his whole family.
I had never been to a racetrack before I met him, not even NASCAR or round track or anything, and it's a lot of fun. It's interesting for sure.
Do you ever give him advice on how he should race, or you just let him do his thing?
I have learned over the years to stay out of that. I'm just here for support.
Their son Cruz was practically born at a racetrack. and already seems to have inherited his dad's fascination for fast cars.
All he wants to talk about and play with is cars, so hopefully we'll have a new driver in a few years and I can step out of the way.
Thanks to mandated safety equipment, drag racing is a lot less dangerous than it was in the old days. Of course, there's always the occasional nitrous pop, but the driver wears complete protection, and he's enclosed in a roll cage that has to be certified for safety. Still, for family members, the thought of a life-threatening crash is difficult to escape.
It's very scary. I always say a prayer before he gets in the car every time. It's scary for sure.
Ken rolls his Mustang into the burnout box in preparation for his first qualifying round. Robert Abbott and his Camaro occupy the left lane. Both cars leave. Abbott somehow loses control, and suddenly he's headed to the wall. He flips and heads right toward rainwater.
He got upside down on his roof and got in our quarter pound a little bit here, but we're okay. Everything's gonna be all right. We'll go back and get it ready for next round. But I hope he's okay. That's our main concern right now. Car parts can be replaced. And we'll get up there and check on him.
I corrected it, and I pulled another gear, and it just started hard to the left and just
Kept
rolled
going.
over on the roof. Looks worse than it really is.
Yeah.
So,
Well, you're a lot calmer than I think most of us would be.
well, I've done it before.
Man, that was dramatic. Side your eye.
Happy that no one is hurt, Ken goes back to his car.
And work your way back about 3 inches. I need some duct tape. Duct tape?
Ken manages a couple of so-so runs to end a long day of qualifying, but never in complete sync after the wreck. Another storm delays eliminations on Sunday. Then, after a first-round traction-troubled solo pass, Rainwater lines up for round 2. Again, he overpowers the track, and Ken is out of the hunt this weekend.
Had a little electrical gremlin up here. We had a crank trigger bad that kind of bit us around or two, and so we kind of knew second round we had to get after it, and we stepped on it a little bit, and obviously a little too much. Just didn't have enough data from the weekend, and the track was really good, and we just kind of missed the call. Of course, everybody wants to win, but this is a hobby, and we have fun no matter what, and we just go do the best we can.